Hey, Scarlett, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, pretty good. One of the things I want to talk to you about with this is that I feel like every time we see the Widow in the different movies, her fighting style has sort of evolved and changed. And I was curious how involved you were.
First going into doing Iron Man 2, of course, I actually had a fairly big fight sequence in that.
Yeah.
When we kind of discover that the Widow is, in fact, the Widow. We really wanted to play with a lot of the kind of themes of her background, that she could have, that her fighting style would be a bit balletic, that it would be a bit gymnastic, and then, of course, taking into account the fact that, she's traveled a lot. And then, of course, this other idea that she's small and she doesn't have any particular superpowers, so she's using her size to her advantage, being that she's usually fighting, big, burly dudes. One thing that we've kind of maintained, really tried to always kind of give a nod to is the playfulness of her fighting style, that she has a quick thinking kind of sassiness to her fighting style.
Tasha, what's your status?
Engine room secure.
And Widow hints more about her past and sort of how she got involved with S.H.I.E.L.D. And I was curious how much you personally have sort of developed a backstory for her.
Well, as much, even though the audience, kind of remains sort of unclear, kind of discovering the character's past, it's important for me as an actor to know where I'm coming from,
right.
What my backstory is. Of course, the character of the Widow has this complex backstory with many different incarnations, and for me, it's important to think of the Widow as being a very contemporary character. She's not withstanding the test of time. We're talking about somebody who's, in her late 20s at this point, early 30s or whatever, and that she's had, the history that she's had involved with, the Russian KGB. Obviously, she was taken as a young child, put into the Widow training program, and then you kind of learn more and more about sort of what she did for them during that time. She's a mercenary to begin with, really. She's a spy, a mercenary. It's a part of her moral compass, or lack of.
Marvel, your universe.